I think the biggest change today from what we saw 24 months ago,
Yeah.
just 2 years ago, is the rapid acceleration of enterprises deploying AI solutions. And it goes back to what you said about trust. I actually see that enterprises, really in any area, in any industry, retail, manufacturing, healthcare, financial services, smart cities, really any industry, there is just more of an appetite to deploy these AI capabilities.
Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of the engatica interview series. I'm your host, Kimberly, and we're really excited to have you all of us join us today. On the show, today we have Robert Daigle, the Senior Manager Global AI Business at Lenovo, with us on the show today. Welcome, Robert. We're so excited to have you join us today.
Thanks so much, Kimberly. I'm glad to be here and share a little bit more about some of the things we've seen in artificial intelligence over at Lenovo.
Awesome. The Engatica interview series is a powerhouse of insights from industry experts and influencers from around the world. A community that provides the latest news on AI, automation, technologies that will help you grow your business. Come be a part of our community where we learn, share, and grow. Well, Robert, you're on a constant mission to make AI accessible for all. That is what your LinkedIn bio really says. So, what is the difference between the approach by startups, growth stage companies, Fortune 500 towards implementing artificial intelligence?
Absolutely. So if you look at the maturity curve of a lot of AI companies that are deploying, AI at scale, or even if they're just getting started, a lot of the startups and growth stage companies are the ones developing the AI solutions that we're seeing be used on a broader scale, and what we're seeing at Fortune 500 and more broadly across the enterprise is they're really the consumers of a lot of these AI technologies that startups and growth stage companies are building, and there's also a lot of in-house development of AI. And I think that's the biggest decision enterprises have to make when they're looking at deploying new AI solutions is, do you build it in-house, or do you go to a startup or growth stage company or even a systems integrator to have something custom developed, or going back to the startup or, software company to have something, that you acquire that's commercial off the shelf. So I think that's a big decision that enterprises have to make as they're going through this build versus buy decision for AI.
Yes, of course. 200 enterprise AI solutions at scale. How is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you look at what we've done at Lenovo, from where we started in the AI space, we really started out of our HPC business, and we were working with a lot of research organizations that were developing AI solutions or AI capabilities. And over the past, I would say 2 to 3 years, we really shifted from just being HPC centric to really focusing on the enterprise, and to be able to support the enterprise in the way that we feel like, is bringing the best of breed solutions to them. We launched something called Lenovo AI Innovators. It's a partner ecosystem. We have over 41 partners in the program today. And they cover solutions that serve retail, manufacturing, healthcare, and financial services industries. So very use case specific, and each one of them has, maybe 3, 4, or 5 use cases that they focus on. So that's how we're able to bring, a large scale of different solutions to market for enterprise customers, is through our partner ecosystem. We're bringing the best of breed ISV software companies, services companies that have actually deployed or delivered these AI solutions.
Oh, that's really pretty awesome. We've heard tons of applications of AI, never heard of using AI to project employees or customers. How does that really happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the major trends in retail, and we do a lot of work in retail, one of the major trends right now is retail organized crime. It's becoming very pervasive across most regions. We see it a lot in North America, in Europe, even in Asia Pacific, where there's actually organized crime rings that are going in and stealing from stores and retailers. And in addition to that, what we've seen is violent crime against patrons and also the employees has increased, with more confrontations with some of these organized crime rings. And so we really see AI as being posed to have a lot of capabilities to address some of these challenges in very practical ways. We've worked with some of our partners to deploy loss prevention solutions at point of sale, at the self-checkout, but even going beyond that into the back of store and being able to identify bad actors that are coming into retail stores or activities that are suspicious that need to be addressed. And if you can reduce the theft in the store, you're really taking away the motivation for some of these criminals to come into your store, which is in effect keeping your employees and patrons safer.
Correct. We're really trying to see how AI is really trying to squeeze its way into every function. Keeping this in mind, what AI pitfalls to avoid while implementing these AI solutions?
Yeah, there's a lot of good research out there. Towards Data Science does a yearly survey on this. There's a couple other outlets that do surveys on why AI projects fail. And there's common trends in each one of these surveys that enterprises and companies are reporting as the reasons that they see projects fail in their own environment. Typically, they come down to three things. Either they don't effectively identify the business outcomes ahead of time, so they really don't have a good vision of what they're trying to solve in their organization. And so not having a good definition of what you're trying to solve with AI, general AI is still not really beneficial to a lot of organizations. It's very specific, or what we call narrow AI is how we're seeing AI be applied, deep learning, machine learning workloads being applied to address certain business challenges. It's very narrow. So if you don't have a very clear business objective, chances are you're not going to see the success of your project that you want. And in effect, it just becomes, essentially a science project. The other thing is, if you can't build a good business case, and show return on investment for the AI project, and that goes back to you need to have your outcomes identified. You need to have good, solid business outcomes that you're trying to drive towards. But the other part of that is, you also have to look at the cost of the solution, the cost of deploying that solution, and it has to have a return on investment. And some things are very easy, or I would say not very easy, but are more direct return on investment cases. So something like loss prevention, if you can reduce, if a retailer can reduce their shrink or loss by 15%, that's a concrete business outcome that has a value, a dollar value to it. So that one's a little more direct, and some of them are a little less direct, where you are looking at improving customer satisfaction, right? Either through using virtual assistants online or even in the store by improving, store operations or whatnot. So, that's a little less concrete of a dollar value that you can attach to it. So a little harder to prove the return on investment, but not impossible. So, building a business case is the second thing. And I think the third thing we see is more of a technical, is the technical side of it, where you have these solutions that work really well in a proof of concept, but a lot of organizations struggle to deploy them at scale. So moving from what worked in the lab to what works in the actual, manufacturing site or retail store. And even if you can get it to work in one store, can you then make it, effectively scale out across all of your sites? So those are some of the top challenges we see retailers face and manufacturing organizations face when they're trying to deploy AI at scale. And the complicating factor is, a lot of this requires compute at the edge. So we've seen a lot of what we call data gravity pull the compute closer to where the data is being generated. And so you have to think about not just, how do I deploy this in the cloud, but how do I actually build the infrastructure at the edge to support this workload? So those are some of the biggest challenges we've seen with why projects are not successful, and really what we focused on at Lenovo to help our customers overcome and ensure that they're successful with their AI initiatives.
Those were some pretty amazing insights, Robert. Thank you so much. I'm sure it's really going to be helpful for anyone who's watching this video to actually go back and rethink their strategies that we're using and actually to kind of miss these. Um, on another side, can you talk about technological convergence and how should businesses really approach it?
That's a great question. I think it's a great follow-on to my response on the last question, because really the convergence of technology is a major factor here. In laying the foundation for a lot of these AI solutions, it wasn't possible if we had not had a lot of research and open source tool sets being developed for AI projects. So a lot of frameworks and models that are used in some of these AI projects are really out of the convergence of a lot of research that's happened over the past decade and really democratizing that research. We're also seeing other technology trends that are supporting the deployment of AI at scale. I talked about edge computing being a factor. Also, things like accelerators becoming more prevalent across the data center and even being able to deploy them at the edge. Many of these workloads that we see are based in computer vision, and computer vision inherently uses a lot of deep learning models, which require a lot more compute. So the way we address that is we use accelerators to be able to deploy these deep learning models, even whether we're training them in the data center, in the cloud, or deploying them in the data center at the edge. And many of these, because of that, going back to data gravity, of needing to deploy this at the edge, we actually have to be able to put accelerators and a lot of high-end compute capabilities at the edge. And the cost has come down significantly. The performance has gone up significantly on a lot of the new compute technology, which helps the return on investment that we talked about earlier. It helps the business case that we can actually be able to make this economical. So those are the trends that we're seeing, is just the increasing performance on the compute, and a lot of the economies of scale that's happening in the software and services that are making it more economical to deploy. So really, at the end of the day, the business case is very closely tied to the technical side of it, which is the performance of these workloads and the compute to run them. So the two go hand in hand.
Well, I am now going to throw at you the biggest and the hottest question of artificial intelligence right from the evolution is trust the greatest barrier to AI? What do you think?
Yeah, I think trust is, it really depends on the context of how you're deploying your AI solutions. When you're talking about things like self-driving cars and things that are more art of the possible, that are not, technologies that we see pervasive or capabilities that we see pervasive today, then trust is a major factor. And there's a lot of work being done around responsible AI to ensure that AI models are developed in a responsible way, whether it's looking at gender diversity or ethnic background diversity, to ensure that people are treated fairly in how these models are making decisions. But I also think this comes back to how you're using it too. I think there are some, what I would call, safer areas to use AI that are, going to have less negative impact if they're not done appropriately. Maybe they don't provide all the value, but maybe the negative impact is not as great. And I go back to the I think it's called the Hippocratic Oath that doctors or physicians take, which is, the first step is do no harm. And I think that's what data scientists have to be thinking about, is ensuring that the first step is to do no harm. And so, we actually take all of our solutions that we bring to market through a responsible AI review committee, just for this purpose, to ensure that there's a little more confidence and trust in the solutions that we're deploying and recommending to our customers, that we've done some vetting on them, and ensuring not only do they provide the outcome that both our partners and that we're advertising, but also that they are deployed in a responsible and ethical way.
Correct. Well, that was a very, very insightful golden bite to take away from. Before we wrap up with our conversation, are there any other sound bites you'd like to leave our audience with?
I would say, just to wrap up, and you've crafted some really great questions here that I think provide a lot of insight to what we're seeing today in AI. I think the biggest change today from what we saw 24 months ago,
Yeah.
just 2 years ago, is the rapid acceleration of enterprises deploying AI solutions. And it goes back to what you said about trust. I actually see that enterprises, really in any area, in any industry, retail, manufacturing, healthcare, financial services, smart cities, really any industry, there is just more of an appetite to deploy these AI capabilities. And I think that ties back to the trust factor, in that there's more trust being instilled in these solutions to really be able to, deploy them at scale and across an enterprise environment. So we're seeing this, acceleration today of enterprises. So it's moving, a lot of these AI projects are moving out of just these science projects into real value for our customers and our partners. So it's really exciting to see.
That is super awesome. Thank you so much, Robert, for joining us today and sharing your valuable insights with us.
Thanks so much, Kimberly, for having me, and have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. For more content, subscribe to Engati and tap the bell icon so that you get access to exclusive content coming from thought leaders from around the globe. Well, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you around with the next expert soon. Thank you.